From the School of Journalism and Strategic Media, here's Blue Raider Extra Point.
Hello everyone and welcome to the season finale of Blue Raider Extra Point. I'm Abigail Martin, joined alongside Chase Owens and with Will Stevenson. We are here at the School of Journalism and Strategic Media. It's time to get caught up with what is happening around the Conference USA and with your MTSU Blue Raiders. Let's go ahead and kick it off. This week, Lori Hickey has this week's starting lineup.
The starting lineup.
The Middle Tennessee men's tennis team is back-to-back Conference USA champions. The Blue Raiders defeated the 2-seed Old Dominion Monarchs 4-1 Sunday afternoon in Charlotte. With the win, the Blue Raiders clinched a spot in the 2021 NCAA tournament, which will begin on May 7th. Opponent and location will be determined during the selection show on May 3rd at 5:30 p.m. Middle Tennessee softball finished out the weekend strong at Florida Atlantic with a 4-2 victory to earn a split in the 4th of 5 Conference USA Series this spring. MT kept its foot on the gas for the 4th inning when Ryan King walked and was replaced on the base pass by Savannah Freeman, who scored on Smith's second hit of the game. Smith scored her second run of the game when Hill hit her second triple of the season. The Lady Blue Raiders will be back in action Wednesday as they take on Austin Peay. Middle Tennessee baseball took home a 2-1 victory over UAB on Sunday afternoon. The Blue Raiders pitching staff combined a one-hitter, which was the first one-hitter since last season when Middle Tennessee tossed a one-hitter in a win against Bradley. It was also the Blue Raiders' 8th one-hitter since 1976. Middle Tennessee welcomes Louisiana Tech to Reese Smith's Field next weekend. First pitch is set for Friday at 6 p.m. That's your starting lineup for today. I'm Laurie Hickey. Back to you.
Thanks, Lori, for that starting lineup, but let's go ahead and keep things rolling. We're going to take it to Nathan Vaughn with this week's Big Blue Review.
The Big Blue Review.
The spring season is coming to an end in college athletics, with some teams wrapping up their season and others preparing for the upcoming postseason. One of those teams is MTSU Men's Tennis, which headed to Charlotte to defend its Conference USA title after being unable to compete in 2020's postseason due to COVID-19. The Blue Raiders made quick work of UAB and Charlotte in the first two rounds to make it back to the championship match against Old Dominion. After winning the opening doubles point in dominant fashion, the Blue Raiders ground out 3 singles wins, with senior leader Tom Moonen delivering the 4th and final victory to secure back-to-back conference titles for MT.
Playing every point, I didn't really even feel that nervous, but I was just like, I wanted to win every point, and then obviously good interaction with the guys on the side, and then after we won, I was just like, let's go. I don't even know how to describe it.
MTSU will now await its NCAA tournament opponent as the Blue Raiders try and win its first tourney match since 2002. Beating teams you're supposed to beat is the hallmark of great teams, and MTSU baseball took care of that business over the weekend in a series win over struggling UAB. The Blue Raiders won 3 straight games after dropping the series opener on Friday, including a 17-7 win on Saturday. Fausto Lopez's walk-off on Sunday for the Blue Raiders gave MT its first true series win since the beginning of March against South Alabama. MT now focuses its sights on Louisiana Tech at home this weekend, with only a few series left in the regular season.
You know, Will, a lot of great things happened this weekend. The baseball team, as I'm sure Abigail will mention later, won the series. But the thing I want to talk about is MTSU and how dominant they were in the Conference USA Championship. I mean, 12 points is what you need to run the 3 games that they ran. They conceded 1 point. And you know how awesome that is? A 4-0 game, a 4-0 game, and then a 4-1 game in the championship. That's just dominance that you haven't seen in a while.
And Old Dominion was the tough matchup of the series, but what I heard from Jimmy Borendame yesterday, I had a podcast where I talked to him after each match, and he told me that the story of that day was that Chris Edge woke up that morning after dominating in singles for the first 2 matches, woke up and hurt his right wrist. And Chris, the lefty, ended up losing his two-handed backhand that makes him such a weapon. And he told me that he was leaving it up to him, but at the end of the day, they decided that they were going to sit him. He went to go tell the referee, and he turned in the corner of his eye, he saw Chris take a one-handed backhand, and he turned around and he said, no, we're going to play him today. And he still ended up going out there and dominating, finished in 2 sets, finished first, 4-1 or 6-1, and then 6-0. That's a bagel and a bagel and a breadstick, as we like to call it.
Well, 2 things come to mind. One, that's like the game that Larry Bird went out there and dropped 60 with his left hand. I mean, that's just awesome to transition from a 2-handed backswing to a 1-handed backswing and still dominant. And then the other thing is the fact that Edge has kind of just done this all year for the Blue Raiders tennis team. I mean, I think there's only been 2 matches that he's actually gone into a 3rd set of the ones that they have actually finished. And that's just an impressive stat. And what's even better is we get him back for 1 more year.
Oh, absolutely.
Now that we've taken a look at MT Athletics, let's check out the rest of the conference with Dylan Taylor's Around the CUSA.
One of the most crucial series of the Conference USA season so far took place this weekend between Charlotte and Old Dominion. Both teams entered the series ranked in the top 25 and in a heated battle for the top spot in the Eastern Division standings. After both teams secured wins in the doubleheader on Friday and a weather cancellation of the Saturday contest, Sunday proved to be the deciding day. Charlotte wrapped up wins in both of the games of the doubleheader and increased their lead in the standings to 3. After the Hog Fart series, Charlotte rose to number 15 in the country while ODU fell to 25. This weekend also saw the Rice women's soccer team secure the 2020 Conference USA Championship in front of their home fans with a win over Charlotte. They were able to jump out to an early 1-0 lead in the first half courtesy of senior Rebecca Keane and tacked on another goal late by freshman Callie Erickson to seal it. After the victory, Rice found out they would be facing the Furman Paladins in the first round of the NCAA tournament in North Carolina. Looking back at the current baseball standings, the previously mentioned 49ers and Monarchs lead the East with FAU sitting 4 games back in 3rd. La Tech and Southern Miss are still battling for the top spot in the West with not much separation between them, while MTSU is gaining ground behind them in 3rd place. With MTN Sports, I'm Dylan Taylor.
So a lot to unpack from Dylan right there. The first thing is that congratulations to Rice on their conference championship. Another home team winning another home championship game. Seems like we keep seeing that. Unfortunately, Charlotte is lost, but actually their baseball team did a phenomenal job and actually lead Conference USA in the standings. So while their soccer team didn't end on the note they wanted to, their baseball team is rolling right along and playing some incredible baseball.
That's right, Chase, but we've got to keep things rolling, so we're going to take you to Zachary Lone for this week's Blue Raider Spotlight.
Colossians 3:23. Whatever you do, work heartily, as for the Lord and not for men. Sophomore Courtney Whitson lives her life by that verse.
My faith is the biggest thing in my life. It drives what I do in basketball, it drives what I do in school, in my family, in my relationships.
Courtney's faith has also led her to be a leader both on and off the court. Guard and Courtney's roommate, Alexis Whittington, weighed in on Courtney's leadership.
She helps me whenever I need help. She helps me to better understand things through her and her faith, and it's really helpful. If I ever need anything, I know I can always come to Courtney for anything.
Whitson is also a leader in the community. She is MTSU's FCA president, and she enjoys leading and being dedicated to her faith.
Every Monday, we sit in the living room and watch The Bachelor. Every Monday, okay? And she has, on Mondays, she has FCA. So it's we watch an hour of The Bachelor, and then we have to wait.
Once Courtney returns, they go through the recordings and pull out the second half of The Bachelor, and then they finish watching it. Assistant coach Matt Insel said that Courtney leads by example and is an example that he wants his daughter to follow.
The love for her to model herself, and Courtney Whitson is a great model, not only for my 1-month-old daughter, but for all little kids out there across our community and across the country, and how hard she works, her faith, her work ethic. I mean, just so many different traits that she has.
Coach Insel says that throughout Courtney's recruiting process and her time here at MTSU, that not a single person has had one bad thing to say about Courtney. Courtney plays for an audience of one.
I'm playing to give him the glory first and then try to transfer that culture over into my teammates and my skill sets. Just work wholeheartedly for him.
Courtney makes an impact on and off of the court, leading by example. She lives out Colossians 3:23 in her everyday life.
So, sometimes when I have an encounter with the Lord, sometimes I'm just really excited in the spirit to explain what has happened and what God's done in my life.
Thank you, Zachary. What a story that was. Hearing from Courtney, that was so inspirational and quite touching. No matter your faith, whatever your background is, it's something that, you hear about athletes saying that they want to have a greater purpose, and, for some people it's winning a conference championship, and that's okay. But I think with her, she comes across as very genuine. She has a great story to tell, and that's something that, it's not something that she just wants to say about her or her as a student athlete. It's something that I feel like she lives by just from having that clip about her. And it's really, I don't know, it was really genuine and quite inspirational.
Abigail, to kind of touch on what you said, I think the word you're looking for is authenticity. I feel like in a world where we don't get that often, reporters want to sell stories, so they might fabricate a truth. An athlete wants to look a little bit better than they actually are, so they might, just spread a little rumor here and there about themselves. But to hear the authenticity that Courtney spoke with, I mean, that's truly impactful for me, and I can tell you really feel her words, and you see it just kind of who she is, and that's the message she stands by.
Absolutely, and the fact that she's willing to take the leadership, even going away from the court, president of FCA, that what a time commitment that is, and that she wants to put that time into it to spread her faith and to stand for what she believes in. I think that's a beautiful thing, and the authenticity, you're right. She has something she stands for, and that's what she's going to go by. And I love that she said, I play for one person. And that's something you don't hear a lot. But to hear it from her, I mean, you're right. I think it comes from her smile, too. It's something you can really connect to. And so I really appreciate that. So thank you, Zachary. But moving on, MTSU has some big matchups this week, and we're going to go ahead back to Zachary Lone to tell us all about it in this week's scouting report.
This weekend, the Blue Raiders baseball team hosts one of their biggest series of the year as Louisiana Tech comes into town. Louisiana Tech is 28-11 on the year, but they are 14-6 in conference play, which is good for first in the Western Division of Conference USA. They are 3.5 games up on MTSU on this side of the bracket, so MTSU has the chance to draw closer to La Tech with a win this weekend. Louisiana Tech is ranked 15th in the country prior to last weekend's split with Marshall. The Bulldogs have hit 27 home runs in conference play and are batting .324 as well in their 20 conference games so far this year. Hunter Wells is batting .415 with an OPS of 1.089. Wells is the best pure hitter on the team, as he has also driven in 18 runs. The area that the Bulldogs can get hurt the most, though, is their pitching staff. The Bulldogs team ERA is 5.1. The Bulldogs starters are headlined, though, by Jonathan Fincher, who has an ERA of 2.4 in his 5 starts. He has also pitched 2 complete games so far on the season. The Blue Raiders are 12-6-1 on the year in conference, including a 3-game winning streak in which they had 2 walk-offs. The Blue Raiders pitching staff has allowed 5 or fewer runs in 7 of their last 8 games. For the Blue Raiders to pull off the upset this weekend, they will have to continue to be great on defense. This matchup is an old-fashioned offense versus defense showdown, and a low-scoring game favors the Blue Raiders in this matchup, especially with the way the Bulldogs have struggled pitching. Back to you.
Thanks, Zachary. And something that I want to touch on a little bit is that's Fausto's second walk-off of the year.
Yep.
And it's his third since we've talked to him starting from last season. And then also a number that stuck in my head was that ERA, that 5-run ERA that Louisiana Tech's bullpen has. MTSU is known for having one of the best bullpens in the conference. So if we're able to hold the bats on Louisiana Tech and MT's able to pick up on some hits, I think we got a good chance at taking down that top-tier team this weekend.
I mean, you talk about top tiers. Number 1 on our side of the conference, 14-6 on this season. Now, this is going to be a 4-game series, and while I'm not calling for an MTSU sweep, I am going to say that we get our second consecutive series win. We close the gap from us in that number 1 spot.
That's the thing. They're coming off a series when you said that I was going to talk about it. You're absolutely right. I'm going to. I've been tired of tying up the series. Coach has been as well. So it is very exciting to take that 3-1 series last weekend. But especially, you just saw the energy coming off of Fausto Lopez. Absolutely thrilling. 2 walk-offs to end up the last series. They're going into this with a 3-game winning streak. This is it. You win every inning. You keep the bats hot. This is the perfect time to keep things rolling. And it's winding down at the end of the season. That's all I have to say. Just look at Fausto. I've said it a few times during the picks, but after just talking to Fausto Lopez and the energy he has, I'm just reassured. You just saw him hit that walk-off, the energy he has. This team is coming in with all the confidence in the world, and that's exactly what they need.
2 walk-offs on the weekend. You can't ask for a better weekend for baseball.
Oh, absolutely not.
Absolutely, you're right, and we're going to get ready for another weekend of baseball. But for right now, we are going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to have our picks for MTSU's matchups this week. Stick around for more Blue Raider Extra Point.
Time for more Blue Raider Extra Point.
And we're back here on Blue Raider Extra Point. I'm Abigail Martin alongside Chase Owens and with Will Stevenson. Y'all, it is time for the picks. Chase, soak this one in for a little bit for me.
Yeah,
the last episode of the season. It is your last time to shine. It's all mine, actually. I know you think it's with you, but going off of that note, while we're in good energy before we start getting a little controversial, this past week, MTSU's men's tennis won against Old Dominion to defend their Conference USA title as they get their 2nd ring. Tomorrow is going to be selection day with the NCAA tournament going to be going on from the 7th through the 9th. I want to talk about this just a little bit more. You talked about Chris Edge, and I have to say I may or may not have worn 2 rings just to keep going along with men's tennis. But just going off of that, going from the last season that we had at Blue Raider Extra Point in the fall, back in football season, we had Tom Moonen on the show. We also had Coach Borndam. But one thing, Will, you and I were talking about before the show, we were talking about getting another ring with Tom Moonen. And Chase, going back to your last call of the game, whenever you and Will were on the call, Tom Moonen wins the game, wins the match for MTSU men's tennis. He does it on the last one to claim the conference title. What can you say? I mean, honestly, like we've all talked about all year about the energy from this team. Now they're going on to go into the NCAA tournament. They've done nothing but prove themselves.
Well, if you don't mind, I'm gonna field this one first.
Oh, no.
I gotta say, how many stories can MTSU's tennis team do? I mean, we get a senior winning the last court on senior day to win them a huge game. And then you get somebody playing through an injury, changing his entire technique to win a conference championship. I mean, you really can't write most of this stuff in books and it not be sold as nonfiction. So it's just awesome to hear that the MTSU men's tennis team, while we're here, is doing something like this.
And from where they won last year, well, not last year, but the year before, because their season was suspended, they went into the NCAA tournament after winning the conference title, and they immediately got knocked out of it. But when I asked Jimmy about that this weekend, he made sure that I knew that this time they're going to ruffle some feathers. They're going to take a couple of W's and they're going to get their way into that bracket.
And going off of that, they're leaving this season with the Conference USA Championship. Again, a 2nd ring. We're going to have to get resized eventually and get all those going through. But also they're continuing to protect ATC, Adams Tennis Complex. They've still got that streak rolling.
Active 29 games. And Will, I feel like we should call Coach Jimmy. Maybe we can get some conference.
I want to be included on this. I mean, come on now. I put in the effort today.
Okay. Let's
Moving along from that, coming off a walk-off victory, 2 walk-offs with that, a winning series, called it, and a 3-game winning streak. The baseball team hosts a 4-game series against La Tech, Chase's football favorite, this weekend. MTSU holds a 7-5 record at home versus La Tech.
So I feel like this is where we're going to agree right off the bat. Or where we're not. I feel like we're going to disagree on this because this is the number 1 team in the conference we're facing. We're coming off of a good weekend. We get to stay at home, and that's where we have our best performance. I'm going to call our first sweep against the number 1 team in the conference.
I wish I had a broom.
That is okay. So, you called it wrong because we're not all going to agree. I think we win this series, but La Tech is really just too talented of a team, and it's also very, very hard to beat someone 4 times, 3 times, 2 times straight. I mean, that's just an unbearable task. Why you don't see that often of sweeps in baseball in the first place. But I love the energy. I love the confidence, and I'm with him right there. I'm going with MTSU in this one.
I'm going to stop you because you said it was unbearable to win a few in a row.
I did not say it was unbearable. I said it's hard to do. Okay, it's
That's
hard.
okay.
It is hard to do in
We
baseball.
can go with whatever vocabulary you would like to do, but I'm going to teach you a quick history lesson.
All right.
Let's move back last weekend. They just won 3 in a row.
Oh, wow.
They just won 3 in a row. Again, winning the series. What can I say? But 2 walk-offs, winning 3 in a row. Just one more time. So it's okay.
Yep.
This is something that this MTSU team is capable of doing. So I will go on to agree with you to some sort. I wouldn't necessarily break up any rooms just yet. They're just getting to a point where they can win a series, and that's something that we talked about last week. That's what's going to push them up in the standings.
Absolutely.
Sitting at number 3 right now, going against number 1. They're only a few games short in between fighting in the rankings. So this is the time. Keep going on. Keep the energy that you have. I can't imagine the locker room right now. That dugout, it has to be going. Not only do the bats have to be going because you are independently going up there yourself, but you still have to have that communication, that backup. And if you fall down and you lose an inning, that's fine. But you better bounce back up and you better make 5 not home runs. But you got to make 5 runs. I mean, if you want to do home runs, that's fine. I would look at Fausto Lopez being in that lineup. But that's something that you can recover from. So I have MTSU, but let's just make sure that we're putting respect on the 3-game winning streak they're coming off of going into this. I told you I was going to get controversial. We should keep a nice subject first. But right now, the softball team is in Clarksville facing off against Austin Peay. They spent their last series when facing off against FAU, but they left with a 1-game win streak. They're 7-3 and 2 while away.
You know, I think that MTSU's across the entire board, every single sport, that has been a home season. And the baseball team, they even started their entire season out 7 games straight at home. And the softball team started out their entire first part of their schedule on the road. So I think that first bump where they had to adjust to even being in season on the road really helped them on the road. I think that the softball team, out of all of them, has the ability to win a series on the road. So I'm going to stick with them.
Well, a little bit of personal history for you guys. Claire Smith, who we've had on not had on the show, but I interviewed her earlier in the year. We saw it on this show. Personal friend of mine. Actually, the shortstop for Austin Peay, Brooke Pfefferly, one of my high school best friends, still talk to her to this day. And so that's awesome to see those two getting to go against each other. Unfortunately, I won't get to be there, while it's happening, but it is what it is. So that all being said, I got to go with Austin Peay in this one. Austin Peay is one of the better teams in the OVC. They're a talented team. Their bats are hot right now. And so while it's tough to pick against MTSU, we're not that great on the road, and we haven't played our best softball this year. I'm going to go with Austin Peay.
I think you bring up some fair points. And I'm trying to take it all in and make sure I'm being unbiased. But you're wrong. With that, I have MTSU. I mean, the season's winding down. Yes, the schedule is getting tougher and tougher as you go along, but they're playing right now. So this is something that, it goes back to winning down every inning. And you talked earlier about MTSU's been thriving at home. That's fine, but they're only a few minutes away. It's just a quick little drive. I know Zachary Alone likes to keep in travel time whenever he's picking somebody. So if we're going to keep that in mind, I have so much faith in Zachary Alone. So I have MTSU with it being such a short drive. Get the bats hot, get ready to rock and roll, and you got yourself a ball game. You got yourself a series, a winning series at that. But I think I'm going to go with tying a series. It's not my favorite thing, so you know that I have a lot of support going back into that.
And I do want to mention before we go off to our break that the men's golf team is going for a three-peat for their conference title. They're in Texarkana right now, and we'll be finding out those results very soon on how they do. But a player that I really want to point out to you guys, we had him on Blue Raider Spotlight last season, Connor McKay. He already has his tour card. He plays with John Rahm whenever he's off for the season. Like this guy is the big deal. He is our number 1 this week, and I'm excited to see how he finishes out this tournament. And I wish the best of luck to those Blue Raiders out there in Texarkana.
Heck yeah.
Check out Blue Raider Extra Point on Instagram and Twitter.
Alrighty, y'all. Unfortunately, that is all the time we have here for today as we wrap up our season on Blue Raider Extra Point. Before you go anywhere and before you go ahead and start checking us out on Twitter and Instagram for more information on the show, I have to say thank you to both Chase and Will. It has been an honor to sit beside you and disagree with you on basically everything, but I'm very glad to be sharing a seat with you guys, and I am going to miss you like crazy. I will not repeat that, so I hope you heard it. But thank you guys for just everything that you do. I greatly appreciate it, and it's been an honor, and I'm so excited to see where y'all go. Hopefully close by.
Thank you, Abigail. And if you missed any of this episode or any of our previous episodes, you can check those out on our website at middletennesseenews.net. And for the last time, thank you for watching and have a great weekend.